Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to talk about a vehicle that has strange problems. When you start it up and listen under the hood, you can hear that first metallic sound. Now I'm not talking about the noise that those evil swines are making all day long in the background of my videos. I'm talking about that first metallic rattle you heard once the starter engaged and the engine actually started. And the other odd thing is, when you corner fast in this, sometimes the oil pressure light comes on, even though the oil level is perfectly normal at the full. So it's not low on oil. So you're gonna pull in the driveway and check it out. Now when you look under the hood, you can see this has a 1 ARFE engine. Here it is. It's a 4-cylinder engine. And if you do a little research, you'll see that the engine has been known for reliability, but it has one main problem. The variable valve timing system has a tendency to make a knocking sound on cold startups. Now you heard that first knock. Watch what happens now that it's already started up. Now the only thing you hear is a little valve rattle. It's got 130,000 miles, but you don't get that metallic on the first startup because the variable valve timing system already has oil pressure in it. It only makes that noise when you start it up cold. But I do have to say, the oil is really dirty. So I'm gonna change the oil and filter, run some quality oil in it, and see what happens. So I'm gonna jack it up in the air so we can change the oil. And stick a jack stand for safety. Dig in an oil drain pan. And since it's often hard to get the oil drain bolts on and off, I use a long extension bar and a socket. Then it's easier to pull them out and get them tight without wrecking anything. As you can see with a long bar, when you're pulling a long bar, it's a lot easier to get them off. Then we can get the rest by finger, and out comes the oil. And as you can see, it's really dirty. And if you don't want to have future problems, get a new gasket for the oil drain plug. These things only last so many times. They don't cost much, so buy them before you change your oil. Then you're not hunting around to find one. And if you only have one car, you can't drive it, so buy a package. I buy these on Amazon. I buy packages of like 10. Then I got 10 of them, and I know I'm never gonna have to worry about having a problem with them leaking or stripping because it's got a nice new gasket each time and they don't cost much. Now when you do put it back on, this is where the giant extension works best, because once you get it on, you can easily, at the other end, push it so it's nice and snug. It won't be too tight, but it'll be tight and it won't leak. Now you gotta change the filter too, but unfortunately, this is one of these swine designed paper ones where there's a plastic container that hides inside. You have to have one of these metal tools to get it off. It fits on and gets it off. Do not buy one of those plastic tools. They're crap, they'll break. Get a metal one like this. This particular one is a VIM, V-I-M, solid metal. Look at that. This is not cheap. It will last. As you can see here, snaps right on, nice and tight. Then again, we're gonna use our extension bar because these things can be hellacious pulling them off. As you can see, now it's turning, it'll come off. And down comes the whole assembly, which we'll take off. Then you get the new filter, and it just goes inside. Pushes right in, and there's an O-ring here. You replace the O-ring. Luckily, the SDP oil filter, the kit comes with a new ring. Just get a little pick, slide it under, get the old one off, and then slide the new one on. It goes on the last groove. Get a little bit of the old oil and push it around so it slides on nice and doesn't stick. Then it just spins on, and get your little socket. Keep turning till it gets snug. Now it's tight and it won't leak. And now we're going to fill it up with oil. It takes about 4.6 quarts of oil. Pour it in slowly because these Toyotas don't take oil fast. They have baffle plates, and if you pour it too fast, you're going to get oil all over the exhaust and it's going to smolder. Now I love these giant jugs because they got a little clear part. And since we're putting in 4.6, it'll be a little less than half a quart left. So we'll do it till it gets down to here. A little bit more. Then we'll start it up and check it. But whatever you do, don't forget to put the cap back on. I've had people leave the cap off. Oil gets everywhere, can ruin stuff. Make sure you put the cap back on. And don't forget to get rid of the jack stand, because if you drop it with a jack stand, you might bend something. Now we can let it down. And we'll start her up. Let it warm up about 5 minutes. And if you notice, compared to what it was doing before, the overall engine is somewhat quieter too. You don't hear the valves clacking as much. It's quieter than it was. This is why you have to keep beating people over the head to change your oil regularly. You don't want to ruin a great engine like this by having dirty oil, running low on oil. I had a customer a few months ago, bought me a Toyota Camry, had the same engine, sounded like it was falling apart. She only had half a quart of oil left. And she said, well, I had it changed 6 months ago. I said, did you ever check it? She said, no. Her car had 140,000 miles. It was burning a little oil. She never checked it. So please, change it regularly. Me, on this particular vehicle, I change it every 5,000 miles with normal stop and go city driving. You don't want to ruin this beautifully designed 2.7 liter 4-cylinder engine because the oil is either too dirty or it gets low. Then once you shut it off, wait about a minute, pull out the dipstick, and check it. In this case, it still needs a little bit more. You can't always go by the specifications that a computer gives. That's why you check it. So we're gonna put the rest of the total 5 quarts in. Then turn it off. And wait another minute for it to drain and check it again. And now it's perfect. It's on the second dot, which is full. Between the top dot and the bottom dot is 1 quart. Now it's full. And this is another reason you want to double check your work. You can't always believe the data. I've seen them off sometimes as much as a couple of quarts. The dipstick works correctly. Always go by the dipstick reading on level ground after you warm it up, and then shut it off and let it sit for a minute or two so the oil drains down, you get the correct reading. Now take it for a spin. And it's running quite smoothly, and lo and behold, a lot of that noise is gone. You can hear a tiny bit of valve, but hey, that's normal for a car with over 100,000 miles. Let's look under here. We're cornering. The oil light is not coming on like it was before. So now you know how to fix and maintain a well-built engine that happens to be making some odd noises you didn't hear before. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Ethan 0815 says, Scotty, please help. I got a 2010 Nissan Pathfinder V6, 50,000 original miles. Wow. I got the battery replaced. Now my car won't start. Doesn't click or anything. The battery terminals are clean. I don't see any blown fuses. Help. Odds are your anti-theft system has locked itself in. And the reason it won't do anything because you turn the key, the anti-theft system is stopping it from starting. If you have a remote somewhere that works, go get it. Lock it, unlock it, lock it, unlock it. A lot of times that'll fix it. Here is a trick that sometimes I've seen if you don't have the remote anymore, something's wrong with the system, this will often work. Disconnect the battery for a couple of minutes. Before you reconnect the battery, put the key in the ignition and put it to the on position. Not start, but on, where the lights would be on. They won't come on because you got the battery disconnected. With the key turned on, then connect the battery. And sometimes that can fool those anti-theft systems because it sees that, well, the ignition key is turned on, so therefore the key is in the car, and now it'll start the car. And if that works, great. Live with it that way. If neither of those things work, find a mechanic like me. We get out our fancy scan tools and we plug them in, and we first check the anti-theft system, and sometimes something just breaks. And it sounds nuts, but sometimes just replacing the battery in a car finishes off something in the anti-theft system, and when you put the battery cables back on in a system, there could be a little power surge or a spark, and it can finish the anti-theft system off. But try my systems to fix it first, because a lot of times you got a remote that'll fix it, or disconnecting the battery for a couple of minutes, turn the key on, put it back on, then it'll start again. I've seen that work many times. Cart357 says, I'm looking to buy my son an 08 Lexus IS 250, has over 200,000 miles. The guy wants $4,500. It's a one-owner car. It's never been wrecked. Next. Well, first, I would want definitive proof that he's the original owner of the car. If it has 200,000 miles and it's an 08, that tells me it's probably a lot of highway mileage. Highway mileage, as I've told millions of times, is equivalent to 10% city mileage. So say that was all 200,000 miles on a highway. That'd be equivalent to 20,000 miles stop and go driving in the city. The guy wants $4,500, but it has 200,000 miles on it and is 12 years old. I would try to pay less myself, regardless of it's a one-owner car, 200,000 miles is 200,000 miles. Most people don't want to touch a car like that, and they're not going to get any guarantee. I would try to pay less for the vehicle. If you have a mechanic, check it out, and he says everything's fine, it's okay, and he says, yeah, it must have been a lot of highway miles, you know, because it's in excellent shape, go ahead and buy it. You're buying it for your son, $4,500 for a car that cost 10 times that when it was new. What the heck? You know, if a mechanic says it's okay, it still could be a good car. I'm just cheap, I'd pay a lot less. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.